وسهلا بكل الذين ينضموا للاستماع إلى راديو بلدي أول راديو عربي أمريكي ويعنى بقضايا العرب في المهجر. برامجنا في راديو بلدي كل يوم جمعة من 8 وحتى 9 صباحا مع ليلى الحسيني في بث حي ومباشر وعبر WNZK راديو 690 AM. صباح الخير بلدي، صباح الخير لكل مستمعينا.
Welcome to Radio Baladi, the first Arab, Middle Eastern, and American simulcast radio show. Radio Baladi is broadcast every Friday morning on WNZK 690 AM from 8 until 9 Eastern Time on Good Morning Michigan with Layla Al-Husseini. Our call-in number 248-557-3300. And now, stay tuned for the best radio talk show on Arab and American issues with your host, Layla Al-Husseini.
Good morning, and thank you for tuning in. Welcome to Good Morning Michigan of U.S. Arab Radio, the most effective ethnic radio station in North America, serving the Middle Eastern communities in North America. My name is Khalil Hashim, and I'm glad to be with you today. Today is Friday, November 27th, 2015, the day after the Turkey Day. I hope you had a wonderful day. This is one of the best days in the year, where we eat, do nothing, most of us at least, and pay thanks to for the good things in life, and hopefully pray for the not so good things to get better. The weather is cool and rainy, and more rain is expected today, and some sleet later in the evening, although the temperature is around 55, so I don't think the sleet is going to happen. The temperature also is going to drop later on in the evening. This is where, they're expecting some sleet. So be careful driving on the road. Good news is that the weekend is sunny for the football game on Saturday, Michigan versus Ohio State. And we wish the Wolverines best of luck. I think hopefully this time they're going to really do much better. So we're rooting for them. The game is at 12 p.m. at the big house. If you don't have to be there, avoid that area with traffic and all of that. And we have a good program for you today. Attorney Mansour Ansari is with us, and we're going to be talking about taxes. He's a tax attorney. We'll get to Mansour in a bit. And we also have an interview with Dr. Dana Alborno, who traveled to the Middle East to visit the Syrian refugees there. She will give us a report on her visit and their health and psychological well-being. Again, today is the day after Thanksgiving. It is a Black Friday. Driving this morning here, the road was almost empty. It was a good drive, except for the rain. A lot of people are hopefully, going out to buy and start the holiday season, the Christmas season, and happy holidays to everyone. Thanksgiving is one of my favorite holidays because no matter who you are, you take the time, and you should take the time to say thank you, to be thankful for the good things in life. And no matter what we're dealing with, there is room to say thank you, because most likely there are a lot of good things happening to us, even though if we choose to ignore them. So this is really a wonderful day, and I love this holiday. We gather around the table, and the turkey and the chicken, whatever it is that you choose to cook, and even if you don't cook anything, just gathering around the table, to just to be thankful to be together, to be thankful to be among friends and family. This is a wonderful time. Is Mansour with us? Good morning.
Good morning.
How are you? Thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely. We're really glad that you're with us. And to start, please tell us a little bit about yourself.
So I'll tell you this much. I'm a tax attorney. I have a master's in tax law. And we started our company in Chicago, in the Midwest.
Okay.
And what we did was a lot of IRS work, tax compliance, a lot of FACTA, overseas banking issues, and sales tax problems for small business owners. And then over the last 2 years, we actually moved our business to Michigan as well. So now we're trying to expand over the Midwest. So I'm really happy to be here and talk about any issues that somebody might have in the state of Michigan, whether it's a state-level issue or even a federal issue.
Yeah. I was reading some of your bio, and it says that you have an office in St. Petersburg, Florida?
That's correct. We have 3 offices now. One's in St. Petersburg, Florida. One's in downtown Chicago. And we have another one in Royal Oak, Michigan.
I love St. Petersburg. I lived there for 18 years. It's like a home to me, and I love that area.
Heaven on earth.
Yeah, it's great. It's a great, This is where, some people say this is where old people live. Actually, it's not. Old people live in Miami. Their parents live in St. Petersburg, so it's really a good place to be. But it's the weather is nice. It's a beautiful city, and so how was your holiday?
Beautiful. Can't complain.
What did you do?
I ate too much. I definitely ate too much. Family, friends, a lot of turkey, stuffing. So hey, I'm just happy to be alive today. Absolutely.
As I mentioned before, I take the time to really pay thanks for the wonderful things in our lives, and this is one of the great holidays, because no matter where you're from, no matter who you are as an ethnic person, everybody associates with food, with saying thank you, and with just on Friday going out to buy things. And who doesn't, So this is really a wonderful day, regardless of sometimes some controversy about how this holiday came into existence. That was a long time ago. Let's focus on the positive side of it and enjoy it. So what are we going to be talking about today?
Well, I think these days there are 2 issues that are really on people's minds.
Okay.
One is on the federal level. I think FACTA is a really big deal. I think a lot of people are being bothered by it. Everyone's wondering, hey, am I even subject to this whole offshore banking issue?
Exactly.
And secondly, on a state level, a lot of small business owners, party store owners, liquor store owners are being subject to heavy scrutiny by the State Department with sales tax problems.
Why is that? Why now?
Because this is what happened. I'll give you a little bit of history on this. State of Michigan used to rely heavily on income tax.
Okay,
just like any other state. All they're getting is income tax dollars, property tax dollars. Now, sales tax was something that was not being enforced because they didn't know how to enforce it. Unfortunately, they saw what was happening in other states such as Indiana and Illinois, and that's how I bring my expertise over to Michigan, where they've been auditing small businesses for sales tax for years. And what they're doing in general is just walking into the business owner's place of business, their convenience store, the gas station, whatever it might be, and saying, look, if you bought $100,000 worth of candy, you need to have $6,000 worth of sales tax for that $100,000 worth of candy that you bought. So now if you come up with anything less than that, you got a problem. But I'm talking about small numbers here, $6,000. Most of my clients are facing balances and liabilities of at least $180,000 to $400,000.
Wow. So how do you come up with that kind of money if you're facing those liabilities?
You don't. And that's the problem. The whole thing is they use something called statistical sampling. And they'll just take your 2 averages in your highest months and say, look, if you made $10,000 in October of profit, you probably made that all year round. And then you owe the sales tax on that $10,000 or maybe that $20,000 worth of merchandise that you sold. Okay? So they're just looking for money. They're looking for money everywhere because they don't have enough of it.
Okay.
And when you get that bill of $180,000, are you going to be able to pay it? Well, if you have it in your bank account, sure you will. Or if you're that profitable, yes. But there's not one business owner that I know that can pay out $200,000 with a check.
How can you avoid that?
You have to start from the very beginning.
Okay.
You have to document everything that you've purchased. So let's just say, for example, a lot of my clients, what they do is they go and buy merchandise from a variety of places. So if, for example, Coke is too expensive at their wholesaler, they're just going to go to the local Meijer and just buy 20 cases of Coke from Meijer because, look, even with the sales tax, it's still cheaper than buying it from the local wholesaler.
Yeah.
What happens is if you don't save those receipts that show that you pay the sales tax on it, you're going to have to end up paying it to the auditor again. So now you've paid twice, and the reason for that is simply because you didn't keep the receipt.
Okay.
Or secondly, if you just forgot to report the sales tax in the first place. So if your sales show, hey, this company did about $100,000 worth of sales this 1 month, and for some reason you only submitted about $1,000, that shows a deficiency right there of $5,000, but you have to remember that penalties and interest are about 200% of the principal value.
Okay. So basically, the best thing to do is good bookkeeping and, coordination with, the person who does taxes for these businesses to really avoid what sounds like could be a hefty penalty.
Yeah, and those penalties are what keep people underwater for a very long time.
Oh, okay.
Normally our clients, if they owe something in the ballpark of $80,000 in taxes, in sales tax, with the penalties and interest compounded for years, you're looking at about probably $180,000.
Wow. And that's not counting the people you have to hire to fix it. Is that correct?
Oh, correct. I mean, when you have to hire somebody to fix about 3 or 4 years worth of tax problems, such as our firm, we basically have to restructure your books and get the right number for about 4 years. And what's going to happen is we have to do that in about 1 month.
Okay. It's a
So
lot of work.
A lot of work, a lot of people working on your case.
Yeah. Which means it's a big bill.
Big bill, but the best outcome that we always hope for is that the auditor has made a lot of mistakes, and they do. For example, we have a lot of auditors who have done things like levied sales tax on bank withdrawals.
Yeah.
And we all know that when you withdraw money, let's say $10,000 out of a bank account, you don't pay sales tax on a bank withdrawal. We've seen some people owning a medical practice, for example. And even in that medical practice, when you purchase equipment, you're using it as a part of the practice and you're not reselling it. So if you buy surgical equipment, you're using it for a surgery. You're not using it to
resale.
be resold.
Yeah,
Exactly.
Yeah.
So the auditors, I've seen many times, they've made mistakes where they take everything that you've purchased and they make it look as though you actually resold it.
Okay. Now, when you resell it, that's not only you pay the sale tax on it when you buy it, you have to pay the government the sale tax for selling that item, which means
Exactly.
double tax.
Double tax.
Yeah.
Double tax. And then you got penalties and interest. So now
Wow.
you're paying about triple tax.
Yeah. And if these things are corrected, the penalty and interest goes away as well?
That's correct.
Yeah.
So anytime we correct anything, the very first thing that's going to go away is obviously the penalty. And then the interest works itself out. Because if you don't owe the principal, you're not going to owe interest on anything.
Sure. Now, from your experience, why do businesses wait 2 or 3 years to really, fix this issue?
What's happening is the cost of goods keep rising.
Yeah.
So, for example, let's just say you have a restaurant owner in Dearborn somewhere, on Warren, okay? Restaurant owner sells a shawarma plate for $9.99 for the last 4 years. If the cost of his steak goes up by 50%, now let's just say he used to make a $2 profit, now he's making a $2 net loss, he can't necessarily go change his menu for that 1 month to reflect that increase of $2. So the problem starts where his costs are increasing. The customers aren't necessarily going to absorb the cost by paying more for it. So unfortunately, keeping the sales tax is the only way to stay afloat, to pay the rent, to pay their employees.
Okay.
See, so I don't think that people are doing this to get rich. And I don't have one client who's gotten rich by keeping a little bit of sales tax from their gas station or their party store. I think the cost of goods, they're just as volatile sometimes as the stock market.
So if these businesses can, and some of them may not be able to, have some kind of a rainy day fund to cover that without dipping into the sales tax, in the long term, they're better off.
That's correct.
Yeah. Is this one of the recommendations you give to people, or like when you restructure their finances?
But unfortunately, by the time I restructure their finances, a lot of people don't want to be in business anymore.
Yeah.
But I'll tell you, the benefit of being in Michigan, now everyone I really hope is listening to this part, you are in the best state to do business.
Yeah.
Now, okay? In the maybe 20 years ago, maybe 5 years ago, especially 5 years ago, you are not in a good state to do business. But the governor here has become very friendly with business owners and has said, look, if you owe, let's say, whatever, $100,000 with the sales tax, we are ready to compromise the bill. We are ready to negotiate on the bill and get you paying us something.
Yeah. Not
everything, but something to keep your business running. Obviously, once you do something like that, look, the government's going to keep watching you. You better. That's your one bite at the apple.
Yeah.
Okay. That's your one chance. But now let's take, for example, Illinois, where we have our other office. Okay, in Chicago. In Chicago, if you owe $180,000, you have 30 days to pay it, or they shut down your business.
Wow.
Not like that in Michigan. Michigan, the governor's really good, and he will allow you time, and they allow you to compromise the bill, and we've brought bills down from $100,000 to about $8,000, $9,000.
Wonderful. What we're going to do is we're going to take a short break, and we're going to be right back so we can talk more about offshore issues, and we'll continue talking about how businesses can really do this. Please stay tuned.
Excellent.
From their first words to first grade, Dreamy Children's Center will help get your child on the right track. The highly qualified staff works closely with parents to provide an experience that goes beyond early education. We can help nurture important personality traits with the use of educational programs ranging from preschooling for infants to Montessori-approved programs and bilingual curriculums for young children. All meals can be provided, and we can arrange for after-school pickup. Dreamy Children's Center in Dearborn Heights on Warren, in Westland on Ann Arbor Trail, and in Troy on DeQuinder.
Are you going to start a restaurant or grocery store soon? Do you need floor plans and designs? Call Najee Abood at 734-744-9796. Do you want to buy kitchen and restaurant equipment at discount prices? Call Najee Abood now, 734-744-9796. New Concept Products and Design, the trademark of kitchen equipment. 5% discount on all purchases of $75,000 or more. New Concept Products and Design. New location, 31185 Schoolcraft in Livonia. Learn more at www.newconceptproducts.com. Call Najee Abood, 734-744-9796.
Jumana K-Ruse. You've seen her images on giant billboards across the metro. Jumana K-Ruse. You've seen her images on buses across the city. Now get to know Jumana K-Ruse.
The war broke out in my home country, Lebanon. I was 11 years old, and I saw a lot of bloodshed and inequality and poverty. You can't grow up in an environment like that and not be affected by it and not want to make a difference. I graduated from Yale University with a master's in ethics. I speak 4 languages. It has always been innate in me fighting for the underdog and trying to do whatever it is I can to make a difference in the world.
Let Jumana K-Ruse protect your rights. Call the law offices of Jumana K-Ruse at 1-866-YOUR-RIGHTS, extension 100, or visit yourrights.com.
Welcome back, and thank you for being with us. The number here is 248-557-3300. If you have any questions about taxes in regard to businesses and how to deal with that, please give us a call. Attorney Mansour Ansari is with us, and we, before we went on break, we were talking about the different ways people get in trouble, and so the issue is, when should they call you?
You want to call as soon as you feel as though something might have been going wrong. And
Okay.
the reason why I say that is because we were actually at a convention a few months back where a higher up with the Department of Treasury stated that they are going after every small business, party store, and gas station in the state. And some people actually are on their second audit already. So when you feel as though things have gone wrong, you want to contact us. We can make things right, and at least that way you can avoid maybe about $150,000 worth of penalties.
Which is a lot of money.
A lot of money.
Yeah, a lot of money for people, and then and not to mention the fees to correct it as well.
Yeah, just my advice would be don't get caught. Come out with a problem and fix it.
Could you repeat that, please?
Don't let yourself get caught by the government.
Okay.
Come out. If you have a problem, come out with it. It's a lot easier to handle.
Absolutely, absolutely. When everybody hears the IRS, they or any other government agencies, they kind of fret a little bit. But if you're working with the right people and you all have all the documentations, and things can be worked out. Things are not as detrimental as some people make it to be.
That's right. They're looking for cooperation.
Exactly.
And a lot of people, what happens is the auditor comes to their front door or their business, and they want to hide. They just want to hide from the problem, and that problem is one that will not go away.
Exactly. What are the businesses that, from your experiences, you see that get in trouble the most?
Gas stations and party stores.
Why is that? Do you know?
Yeah, I'll tell you. Illinois actually set the principle for that one. So what happens in about 3 years, the state of Illinois collected about $100 million of unpaid or underpaid sales tax from gas station owners. And now once the other states, Wisconsin, Indiana, and Michigan, caught hold of this information, they said, look, we need money too. We need to unearth every last dollar that we can find as well. So if you're a gas station owner, you better believe it. And if you have a good relationship with your jobber, you're lucky. If you don't, you better make a good relationship with your jobber. A jobber is the one that delivers the gas to you. And getting their reports is going to be absolutely crucial and critical in determining the correct tax liability that you have.
Now, wouldn't it make sense for me as a business owner to, say, well, Mansour, why don't we do a review to make sure that everything is on track? And if it's not, what's the best way, to follow?
Yes, definitely. We're lucky here in the state of Michigan that you don't actually get prosecuted for these crimes, at least not yet.
Sure.
But in a lot of other states, people are going to jail for this. And we represent people on both a criminal level and on a civil level. Civil level being you just owe money. On a criminal level, it looks like there's been a lot of tax avoidance. Okay, just a lot of keeping the tax money in your pocket instead of remitting it. So when normally we get clients who own usually car dealerships and other forms of business that are a lot easier to track, because you're not going to have as many transactions as a gas station as you will as a car dealership. Dealership maybe sell, maybe, 1 or 2 cars a day versus a gas station that has about 1 or 2 transactions per minute.
Absolutely.
So normally our clients come to us and we do something called a reverse audit. So we go through the books and we do our own audit the same way the government would be doing an audit on your books. And then we come out with an actual value and say, look, either you owe something or you don't owe something. Some people keep meticulous records of all their sales, and they are in good shape.
And that's the key right there.
That's the key to keeping your business open.
Yeah. And now when we were talking about earlier about offshore, this is because of the recent law where you have to declare whatever investments you have in other countries. Is that correct?
Absolutely correct. So this is not just cash. This is also real estate. It could be bonds. It could be gold, anything of value. You're subject to FATCA. Now, that's FATCA, not FATCA. It's FATCA. Remember, FATCA. So you're always, as a U.S. citizen, a resident of the United States, or someone who's just been here for over 183 days, you have the duty to report all of your worldwide income on something called an FBAR. Okay, that's important, and it must be done every year.
So if Only if there's something that is earning me income. Is that correct?
No, it could be a bank account with $1,000 sitting in Morocco for the last 6 years.
Okay.
So as long as it has a value attached to it, you're required to report it.
So if I owned a home in Lebanon and I'm not living there and nobody is living in it, it's just locked, I still have to report it?
Yes, you have to report it as a financial asset.
Oh, okay. So, and is there any, do I have to pay any taxes on it?
You won't pay taxes. You won't pay taxes on it unless there's income being earned. So if you do own a home and you're earning rental income, you're going to be paying taxes on that, either in Lebanon or in the United States. And it's very interesting that you bring up Lebanon because there is now, just very recently, a tax treaty with Lebanon that says if you pay tax in Lebanon, you get that much of a credit back when it's time for you to pay taxes in the United States.
Oh, okay. So if you pay in taxes there, also that counts.
That's true, yeah. So if your whole tax bill in the United States was, for example, $100 and you paid $90 in Lebanon, then you're only going to pay $10 of a difference in the United States. On
that particular property, if you're earning income on it?
On the income.
Okay. Because then a lot of people in our community own homes in overseas, and that's for personal use, not really for, not for income. So they still have to report that.
You have to report it.
Yeah.
You have to report it.
And again, it sounds like the motivation here is money as well.
Of course, because the penalty, now this is where it gets interesting. So maybe about 4 years ago when they first came out with, maybe 5 years ago when they first came out with all the new Swiss banking rules, everybody was subject to about a 35% penalty. So if you had $1 million in your bank account, USD obviously, in, let's say, for example, Lebanon, you would have to write out a check for $350,000 for not reporting that bank account.
Oh, man.
And we had many clients that I that phone call to the client to tell them, listen, now's the time to cut out that check for $400,000, $500,000. It was a very painful time for myself and my client.
Sure.
But now what they did over the last 3 years, they called it streamlined. So this new streamlined program is really good. As long as you did not show a willful intent to hide the money, you can basically say, look, I forgot that I had the account. I didn't know these rules applied to me for any reason. What you can do is get away with about a 5% penalty, which is peanuts compared to what it used to be.
Exactly. These are really very important issues, and they do affect our community in many ways. They're still learning. We're still all learning about these, and today is the first segment. We just wanted to introduce you, and then more or less trying to find, what are the issues really we can talk about to help our community get educated and providing the help they need. And, today we allocated a half an hour for it. Believe it or not, that time is almost over. And what we'd like to do eventually is identify certain issues. So instead of talking in general about this, we'll be addressing, a particular issue more in depth. So we got about a minute or so. I just want to wrap up. If you please, what are the issues they need to be aware of, and what do they need to do?
With FACTA?
Yeah, either, both topics we talked about.
Okay. With FACTA, just realize that if you have even $1 left over in a bank account overseas, this falls under IRS criminal violations. So the very first thing that you want to do is make sure you're seeking the right representation and you're declaring any bank account that you might have that's not in the United States, and that way you're avoiding criminal prosecution and you can get away with a civil penalty, which is amazing.
Exactly.
Secondly, with the sales tax problems I was talking about for small businesses, the party store owners and gas stations, if you want to stay in business, you want to keep your business open, you want to be able to open another business in the future, better make sure that you're getting a checkup on your sales tax.
Wonderful. And what is the number if someone needs to reach you?
Oh, well, we have our operators live, but our Chicago office is where most of our calls are being brought in from, and that's 312-265-5626. But we do have an office here in Michigan where all our calls get routed right to from Chicago.
Sure. And do you have a website, anything we can share with our listeners?
Yes, it's called MichiganSalesTax.net.
Okay. And we will have that info on our website as well. And if any of the listeners have any questions, and as we talk about it, this, at a later segment, it becomes easier for people to remember and, to give you a call if they need help with any of the issues that we raised. And I'm sure we're going to be raising more and more issues at a later time. Mansoor, I just want to say thank you, taking the time this morning to be with us and talk about this very important issue that can make or break a business, because, we have at least 5,000 businesses in our community, and most people come into the States and they want to start a business and they want to be successful entrepreneurs. And then your diligence and the information you shared hopefully is going to help them be more successful, and, because if they're not making money, that's a problem for everybody.
Big problem.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for being with us this morning, and have a wonderful, wonderful day.
Thank you very much for having me. Take care.
Absolutely. Thank you. Bye now. Please stay tuned. We're going to take a short break. We'll be right back.
Life for Relief and Development is a nonprofit charity that has been providing humanitarian aid and development to people and communities regardless of race, color, religion, or cultural background for over 22 years. When disaster occurs here or around the world, Life rushes to provide food, medical aid, and shelter to those in need. Life also has development projects that provide medical relief, water purification, educational programs, relief for orphans, and much more. Your help and support can greatly improve these efforts. All donations are tax deductible. For more information, please visit our website at lifeusa.org or call 248-424-7493. That's lifeusa.org, 248-424-7493.
Ziyad brand. Quality products from our family to yours. Ziyad Brothers Importing offers the finest quality products, including brands like Sultan, Kraft, Nestle, Hook, Rico Picon, Donna, and many more. Ask your retailer to carry these fine products because you deserve the very best. For more information, visit our website at www.ziyad.com. That's www.ziyad.com. Ziyad, quality products from our family to yours.
Welcome to USR Radio, and we're talking to Dr. Dana Alberno, who recently visited the refugees in Jordan and Turkey. Good morning, Dr. Dana.
Good morning. How are you?
Good. How are you? And thank you so much for being with us this morning.
I'm good. Thank you for having me.
Wonderful. And please tell us a little bit about you before we start talking about your trip to Jordan and Turkey.
So I am a medical resident at the University of Chicago. I'm specializing in obstetrics and gynecology. I am a Palestinian American and have spent a lot of time going back to the Middle East and spending time with refugees and doing health education for diabetes patients in Jordan, as well as going to Turkey to visit the Syrian refugees there to do health education for the women and girls there as well.
Wonderful. I'd like to remind our listeners that Dr. Dana is the daughter of talented Dr. Nasrin Sawan, who we have a program with Dr. Sawan, throughout the month, and specifically the last week of every month. And so this trip, how did it come about?
Well, there's an organization called Qadam Foundation that was started by Lina Sergi and Kinda Hebrawi, two organizers and activists that I knew very well in Chicago. And they had put together an organization for humanitarian relief. And at the time when the organization was put together, their focus was on all people who they identified in the world as being underserved and being of need. And a few years later, the Syrian refugee crisis occurred with all of the violence and political distress happening in Syria. So now their efforts are focused exclusively on Syrians, and they lead trips to Turkey to visit the Syrian refugees there every couple of months. I think they're there maybe twice a year, 3 times a year.
What's a living condition there? I mean, were these refugees living in camps, or are they, as you call them, urban refugees?
Yes, the refugees that we visited in Turkey are urban refugees. They live in and around the city of Reyhani, which is along the border between Turkey and Syria. It is now called Little Syria because the population of Reyhani is
how many people, how many refugees there?
To be honest with you, I don't know the exact number, but what we do know is that Turkey as a country has the highest number of Syrian refugees out of all of the surrounding countries. What we also know is that most Syrian refugees are not living in camps. They are urban refugees, and a high proportion of them do live in the surrounding towns and villages from the border. So what did you observe? And this is what I wanted to ask you. What did you observe? Yeah, so what we saw is truthfully that the living conditions are very difficult for the Syrian refugees who are in this area. What we became very, very intimately aware of is the conditions that the school children go to school in. Where we led our workshop for the week was in Ruwad School, which is on the 2nd floor of an office building. It's a very, very small and kind of desolate workspace that 750 children go to school in. There's no outdoor space for recess. There are no doors between the classrooms. There are multiple classrooms happening in the same room. It's a very loud and crowded environment. The view
How about their health condition?
So the health conditions that we specifically focused on for the week was doing vision screening, dental screening, and then I led a women's health workshop while I was there. Based on the reports from the dentists who were on our trip is that the state of oral health for the children is very poor. There's no level of awareness that children need to be brushing their teeth. Many of them have already lost teeth, are suffering from severe kinds of tooth decay and other kinds of poor oral hygiene. The dentists worked tirelessly to distribute oral hygiene kits to repair.
Yeah, this is what I was going to ask you. You know, toothbrushes and toothpaste, are those available for them? And I mean, is it a lack of education, or they're just not available for them?
I think it's more of a lack of education. There's no sense of awareness that oral health is a priority. In addition, we identified many children who needed glasses who didn't have glasses. We did vision screenings all throughout the week and identified at least 1 in about every 10 children there needed glasses that didn't have glasses, and a proportion of those kids were almost legally blind. So when you're talking about their quality of life in terms of are they able to learn, are they able to go to school and play and, you know, advance in a social developmental way as most other kids, the truth is that they couldn't. So we were able to do vision screenings and provide them with glasses before we left for all the kids who are identified as needing glasses.
Okay. How about the psychological aspect, you know, whether it is women or children? What did you observe?
So in my women's health workshop, I talked to 8th through 12th graders about a variety of women's health topics. And we talked about everything from healthy eating to exercise to stress management and self-esteem. And when talking about self-esteem and stress management and talking about anxiety and depression, a lot of the girls shared with us stories from their lives that were truly heart-wrenching in terms of the experiences that they've been exposed to at a very young age that have honestly stolen their childhood from them. One of the girls that I was talking to, her father was killed, and she woke up to seeing his corpse. Her mother made the decision before the whole family was targeted that they would all leave. They left to Turkey the next day, and this girl was crying to me, telling me that she has a big weight on her shoulders to try to fill the gap that her father has left behind. She's trying to make money for the family, take care of the kids, and take care of the...
How old is she?
She was in 8th grade, or no, she was in 9th grade. And then I had a 10th grader.
Which roughly, what age is that?
10th grade is about like 15 years old.
15 years old. She already found herself responsible for a family. Exactly.
And then I had a 10th grader.
So what kind, before we leave that, what kind of pressure that puts on young girls like that?
I mean, it's an immense pressure. It's an immense pressure to grow up way before you have to be responsible, to raise your younger siblings, to feel financially responsible for the family, to provide for your mom, to provide for your siblings. It's a lot of pressure. And one, frankly, that truly deprives her of a childhood where she can be carefree and to focus on her own future. And I think even the word future is one that many of these kids don't have the pleasure of knowing or thinking about, because in their own mindset, many of the girls shared with me, like, you know, we're graduating from high school soon. We have no opportunities to go to colleges here in Turkey. There's nothing we can do with our high school education here in Turkey.
So how do they spend their time?
I mean, I think many of the kids, in terms of spending their time, they go to school for half of the day. Many of them work small odd jobs, whether they're sewing, whether they're selling things on the street, making menaish, selling them on the street, doing different jobs like that, and they do their schoolwork and they help their mom.
What's the international community doing about that?
So Kadam Foundation has worked very hard to put kids back into schools and get them off the streets and get them out of the workforce in Turkey. I think they have very nice initiatives to sponsor children so that they don't have to provide for their families, so that they can go to school. But I think in terms of the international community is not doing anything. I think that the international community, specifically in America, specifically in light of the presidential election, I think that the rhetoric about Syrian refugees has become something that's very negative, something that's very scary. It's very dehumanizing. We don't talk about Syrian refugees like victims. We talk about them like perpetrators. And I think that that's a very, very...
What can we do? What can we do and urge the, doctors and the international community to do?
Well, I think that first and foremost, we have to take a stand against this rhetoric that dehumanizes and really focuses on Syrian refugees as being perpetrators. I think that we have to come out publicly and say that it is expressly because of American foreign policy that these people have become refugees, and it is expressly our duty to not only eradicate the political situation that is taking their land away from them, but also to offer them solace and refuge and resettlement in the meantime, so that they can learn, so that they can have opportunities and they can go back and make their country a better place.
To really wrap it up, what have you learned from this trip, and what's your message to everyone?
I think the primary thing that I learned is that the girls I worked with are very bright and smart human beings. A lot of them knew I was a gynecologist and asked me a lot of very intellectual and intelligent questions about their own health, about the health of their moms and their aunts. They asked me just such bright questions about how to improve the state of public health for refugees and what they could do and how they could be proactive, and asked about everything from family planning to, keeping up with the routine health care that every woman needs to prevent things like uterine cancer and cervical cancer. And they were all very, very smart and eager to learn. And I think that made me very excited, but it also made me very sad, because these girls have a lot of potential, but they have no opportunity. And I think that more than anything...
What's your message to everyone?
My message is that these girls didn't choose to be refugees. They didn't choose to be born in the circumstance that they were born in. That we have to do everything in our power to support their right to learn and their right to dream and their right to hope for a better future. We shouldn't victimize them. We should try and come up with creative ways to ensure their education and ensure their opportunity for a better future. And honestly, a better present time to give them resources and hope so that they can enjoy their present day lives like any other kid and to grow up and have opportunities to form a better Syria for tomorrow.
Thank you so much. Really appreciate you being with us, and it sounds like a trip filled with learning. We want to really appreciate, we want to thank you and for your time, spending the time with us, Dr. Dana.
Thank you so much.
Okay, bye now.
Please stay tuned for a short break. We'll be right back. Thank you.
أسواق زمزم الواقع على 24065 أورشد ليك في مدينة فارمينغتون هيلز ترحب بالجالية العربية والكلدانية. تنزيلات كبيرة على عموم المواد الغذائية في يوم الأربعاء من كل أسبوع. لا تنسوا فريش كاري اوت، جميع انواع المعجنات، وايضا صواني الكمبو المشكله والصمون الحار. لحوم حلال الجاليه العربيه والاسلاميه الملحمه باداره قصاب الجاليه المعروف سلوان جربوع. زوروهم على 24065 اورشد ليك في مدينه فارمينغتون هيلز او اتصلوا بهم على 248-476-0300. اسواق زمزم للمذاق عنوان لجميع طلباتكم. اتصلوا على 248-476-0300. اسواق زمزم للمعامله الراقية وكرم الضيافة عنوان.
مسافر وحدك وفايتني.
أمتي ترافل للسياحة والسفر بإدارة نبيل الباشا تعلن عن افتتاح مكتبها الواقع على 28695 راين رود في مدينة وورن. خدمات متميزة وخبرة تفوق 20 عاما نضعها في خدمة عملائنا الكرام. مع أمتي ترافل يمكنكم حجز رحلاتكم الجوية داخل أمريكا، الوطن العربي وأنحاء العالم، إضافة إلى الأماكن السياحية والاستجمام. للحصول على أفضل العروض وأنسب الأسعار ولمزيد من المعلومات اتصلوا على الرقم 586-578-9126 586-578-9126. أمتي ترافل، عنوان للصداقة والثقة. قشات ميديترينيان ماركت بإدارة سهر قشات وأولاده يرحبون بالجالية العربية والكلدانية. جميع أنواع المواد الغذائية، البان طازجة، الكرزات والبهارات الطازجة. داخل الأسواق مطعم ميديترينيان شيش كباب يقدم يوميا جميع أنواع الكباب، المقبلات العربية العراقية وصواني الكامبو المميزة. تفتح الأسواق من 8 إلى 9 مساء من الاثنين وحتى السبت، ومن 8 صباحا إلى 9 مساء يوم الأحد. تقع الأسواق على 32839 نورث ويسترن هايوي في مدينة فارمينغتون هيلز. لحوم حلال للجالية الإسلامية. لطلباتكم من المطعم كول 248-538-7855. That is 248-538-7855. قشة ميديترينيان ماركت، خدمة متميزة ومعاملة راقية.
Welcome back and thank you for being with us. We want to thank Dr. Dana Alberno for that beautiful report, very effective report on her latest trip to Turkey and Jordan, where she observed and she was working with the Syrian refugees there. The situation really needs our attention, and I've always talked about this, and I strongly believe the best way we can help the refugees is to stop the war. You know, find a way to stop the war so they can return home. You know, this is the best help we can give them. The second best is, try to help them as much as possible to cope with the suffering that they're going through. Being a refugee is not really a trip. It's not a vacation. It's not, these people left their homes against their will. They're fleeing from their homes because, either they to save their lives or to take care of their children, make sure they're out of harm's way. So it's important that we can help not just the Syrian refugees, but we're talking about the Syrian refugees now because now the war is going on in Syria. But any refugees in general, help them to cope with the situation. Again, the best way to help the refugees is to stop the war so they can return home to their own homes, to their own country, and restore their dignity. And this is the best way we can do that. And as Dr. Alberno was talking about, is the living conditions, the psychological impact of the war on the refugees. It's amazing, and we hope that those who can help, whether they're doctors, whether they're organizations, whether they're individuals, that they can help to alleviate some of the suffering and some of the psychological impact that leaves on everyone. One of the saddest stories is that sometimes parents bring in their children to a certain area, and then they have to return, specifically fathers, to make sure that nobody takes or to protect the property, and then they leave these children as caretakers of the family. These children should be going to school and just living their lives as children. All of a sudden they find themselves adults, and this is one of the toughest things. Same thing, the same impact on women as well, and it is the psychological impact that stays with the person for a long time, and sometimes it scars the person. So it's not just people who are dying in Syria, also people who are suffering in camps in Jordan, in Lebanon, in Turkey, in other places. And as Dr. Alberno mentioned, Turkey has the largest number of Syrians refugees in the area there. Then there's like a couple millions in Lebanon. There's also in Jordan. Some of them live in camps. Some of them live in, with everybody else, what they call them urban refugees. And some of them have crossed the sea and the borders into Europe and others. And normally those do not return. And that's even more dangerous for Syria than anybody else, because when people don't return, you're losing population. You're losing, great minds. Syrians are very intelligent people. And once you lose these minds, it's very tough to replace. It's called, I think there's a term for it, mind drain or something like that. And, you drain the area from the good minds and the people who really don't have any stake in wars and don't want to fight wars. They just want to live and give and be good citizens. And these are the people that you're losing. The number here is 248-557-3300. Give us a call if you have any comments on that segment or the segment before, where we talked with attorney Mansour Ansari, and he talked about two important issues that touches a lot of people in our community, because a lot of people in our community own their own businesses, which is sales tax. If you don't pay that sales tax and you don't keep good records, most likely you're going to get in trouble, either with the IRS or with the state. And the penalties and the fees and attorney fees to correct that, they are unbelievable. They're staggering. So do not get in trouble. Make sure that you're on the right track. Make sure you know what you're doing. And if you are in trouble now, reach out to attorney Mansour Ansari and or any other people that you feel comfortable with. Reach out to someone, and because always when you come forward with an issue, it's much easier to deal with. As attorney Ansari said, the state of Michigan is trying to make it easy for businesses to operate, and they do want to work with everyone. I want to make sure that you continue to operate. So there is a plan. Don't wait too long. The longer you wait, the more money is going to cost you. You don't want to do that. So, first understand the cost of keeping that sales tax. And he says, gas stations and liquor stores and others, those who sell small items, you have to be very careful on how you keep records and make sure you're working with a good accountant also. This is something very important. Keep receipts. I learned this the hard way. Keep receipts as much as possible. Document everything. Modern technology helps us with the receipts much better than before. It's a matter of habit. Keep receipts, and if you need help, call Attorney Ansari. He will be more than happy to help you. Also, call anyone who you think will help you. But if you don't have someone, Attorney Ansari Mansour Ansari will be more than happy to help you. And we'll have that information on our website, yamichigan.com. That's www.yamichigan.com. Later on during the day, we'll have that information there for you. If you have any questions about that, if you have a comment, please give us a call. We got a few minutes left. And, also it's worth mentioning because it's really good news that the Detroit Lions won yesterday, and they won in a big way. I don't remember what was the final score. Was it like 48-something? 45-14, which is really a commanding win over a good team, really a good team. So hopefully, a few weeks back, the picture of playoff was very bleak. Today with 4-7, the record, there may be something there, because if you look at the NFC division, only Carolina is 11-0, which is 11 wins, and Arizona is 8-2. Everybody else is 6-5 and 5-7 and 7-4 and things like that. So if the Lions win a few more games and others lose a few more games, you never know. They could clinch a wild card if they stay playing like that. It's amazing what firing few people would do, and I guess it lit the fire under them. Because, let's face it, the Lions are a good team. They have a lot of talent. They just did not have the leadership to really take him what they need to be. And it seems like, and I don't want to be hard on the people who lost their jobs, because they may not be the problem, but it seems that, that shakeup has shaken the team, and hopefully that they continue with their win. 4-7 is 11. We have 5 games left. Winning at least 4 out of those 5 games could put him in a good spot for a wild card, depending on the rest of the division. Because again, Arizona is 8-2, and you have Minnesota 7-3, Green Bay 7-4, and then that's it. Everybody else is either similar to the Lions or they're worse off. So winning a few games. I think next week next Thursday we have the Packers in town, and last week the Lions beat the Packers in Green Bay, which is really good. Changing that history, and if they can beat him here, and by the way, the Packers are not playing that well, so this is a good time to beat him, and then make that 5-7. And then just continue on that. And there were a couple games that the Lions should have won, but we don't want to look backward. Let's look forward, and let's wish them well and hope that they continue. Even if they don't go to the playoff, I think they're going to finish the year really strong, and hopefully next year they're going to come back and do very well. So we wish them well. We're almost out of time. Again, I want to take the time to wish everyone happy Thanksgiving and have a safe holiday. Friday today is one of the biggest shopping day of the year. Please, watch your credit, watch what you spend. Don't get in trouble now and go out spending, and then you have to deal with it later on. There are always ways where you can buy gifts and spend less and make more money. Save your money rather. And, please everybody, even if people are upset with you for a short time, and then you're financially sound, in the long term, you're better off. So, watch what you spend, watch how you spend it, and there are always ways to really do this. So again, I want to thank you. Thank you so much for listening, and we will see you and talk to you either next week or a couple of weeks from now or next month. Thank you so much, and goodbye.